Hello everyone, and welcome to MSBA's Capital Watch for January 27th, our look at the General Assembly and pending legislation that could impact your school district. And joining us from our governmental relations offices in Jefferson City is our Associate Executive Director for Advocacy and our Chief Lobbyist, Mike Reed. And Mike, we're not quite a month into the session as we are recording this program. How would you evaluate the session overall to this point?
Well, the session came off and got started running, let's say. I mean, it is at a fast start, much faster than most sessions. And probably that is because of the way that it ended last year with the Speaker of the House resigning and the President Pro Tem of the Senate leaving. And plus the meltdown in the Senate and no bills being passed at the end. So there are a lot of pieces of legislation that got trapped or just died on the vine, and those pieces of legislation are moving very quickly through the General Assembly. They were already vetted through committees. Some of them had conference committee reports and just did not have a chance to get voted on. So this has been a very quick moving session. I was talking to a senator today, and the statement was, they're moving at the pace of mid-March at the end of January. So things are moving very quickly.
And one of those issues that has moved very quickly so far, Mike, is ethics reform. A number of bills on that related to that issue have had hearings and are moving forward. Tell us where we stand on that.
There are a number of pieces of legislation that deal with ethics and personal financial disclosure reports and lobbying that have moved through the House of Representatives, and several have already had a hearing in the Senate. A couple of bills that affect school board members. One of them is a requirement that personal financial disclosure reports will have to be filed twice a year instead of just once a year. So that's moving through the Senate. It had a lukewarm reception at the hearing this week, so we'll have to see what's happened, but that's one bill that did do that. Another bill that got past the House and is now moved over to the Senate is a ban on any lobbying expenses for members of the General Assembly. Actually, that ban was increased to say that lobbyists cannot buy anything for any local elected officials as well as school board members. So there is a real question on how does that affect school board members and what does it mean. We have been in discussion with the sponsor of the piece of legislation, and we'll be in discussion with members of the Senate. So there is a movement to try to get a ban on meals, food, and beverages from lobbyists to certain elected officials.
And Mike, also at this point in the legislative session, we have heard from the governor, his State of the State speech and his budget proposals for the next fiscal year. Governor Nixon proposing an $85 million increase in the foundation formula, as well as some increases for some other education programs as well. How is the governor's budget proposal being received, do you think, and what's the outlook for funding?
Well, the budget committees are looking at it very closely. The $85 million is something that we think is doable. It is not full funding for the foundation formula, but at least it is an increase. Plus, there's money for early childhood education and an increase in transportation funds. So it is being looked at by the House and the Senate very closely. It's still a little early to say. I'm certainly optimistic that we will get at least that $85 million in increase for the foundation formula. Again, doesn't fully fund the formula, but it is a step in the right direction.
And another issue related to that, Mike, we have some legislation being proposed that would revise the formula, especially the state adequacy target. That is a key component of formula funding. So we're going to see some action probably on those bills, aren't we?
Yes, we are. There are at least two bills, one in the Senate, one in the House, that changes the adequacy target, puts back a cap of 5% growth in that. And in changing the adequacy target, it probably reduces the amount of the adequacy target, so it makes funding of the formula or full funding of the formula a little more realistic. I believe there's going to be a lot of discussion about that in the next several weeks. I can't tell you yet whether it's going to pass or not. I can tell you it's going to have a thorough discussion. And we have to make sure that in doing this, there aren't winners and losers as far as school districts are concerned. We can't, we have to make sure that we're not hurting districts when we do this. So it's going to be a lot of information coming out in the next several weeks, and we want our members to keep very, very close tabs on what's happening. We will keep them informed on our weekly voice.
And Mike, another issue that is receiving quite a bit of attention, several bills filed on it, has to do with restricting the school calendar, the school start date in particular. And that issue seems to come up every few years, and it's back with us again this year, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's several bills and several legislators are very concerned about when schools start. Presently, as you know, districts can start up to 10 days prior to the 1st of September. And if they want to start before that, they have to have a hearing with a notice to the members of the community about what the calendar looks like. One of the bills says that you cannot start before the 1st of September. There's another bill that takes away that ability to start anything before 10 days before Labor Day or the 1st of September. There's a bill that says you cannot have classes during the state fair. So a number of bills dealing with this. One senator has said, you know, you don't want to get between agriculture and tourism and education, and that's exactly right. We believe in local control. We believe the people in Kennett know better about how and when schools should start than the people in Jefferson City do for that district or any other district in the state of Missouri. So we will be continuing to work to have local control and let the local elected school board members make that determination of what their school calendar looks like.
Another issue, Mike, that seems to have some momentum is youth suicide prevention. We've seen some bills filed and actually some hearings held on that issue. Do you think that does have some momentum?
Yes, I believe it does. It's a problem it's a very taxing problem. It's a very emotional problem. It's a problem that affects most school districts at one time or another, and it's something that one hopes that no district has to go through. But there seems to be an increase in suicides and attempted suicides. This bill is several bills that are out there who are trying to make sure that districts are fully aware and there's adequate training and staff understands what to look for and how to help students. The most important thing we have are the students that we have, and to keep them safe when they're at school.
Well, Mike, as we're now well into the legislative session, it's certainly time for our members to become and stay engaged with legislators, letting them know what the impact will be of legislation that's being considered in Jefferson City. We have several ways for our members to do that, including our School Board Advocacy Network visits, our legislative forum coming up, and other means. So all those things are important, aren't they?
That's extremely important. S-band visits, our legislative forum, very, very important. Elected officials enjoy and respect meeting other elected officials. The best advocates we have are the local school board members who talk to their elected officials and say, your actions are affecting my district in this way. Both of you have to go back to the same constituency to be elected. And it's extremely important to let elected officials know how their actions affect you at the local level.
All right, Mike Reed, thanks a lot for your insight and analysis on the developments in Jefferson City. We appreciate that very much. And we thank you for joining us on this edition of MSBA's Capitol Watch.